and also your laughter there will have answered Alison's question when I said that you were having the same problems I was last week of having a voice that was coming and going. She kind of went, "Will you still be able to laugh?"
Oh, thanks for the concern, listener. Yes, I can still laugh. Although I've got a bit of a sexy thing going on.
And also, will you be laughing once we review these albums?
Certainly not.
Yes, it's Christmas. As per usual,
Yeah.
we're going to do a selection of Christmas-themed releases from Mary J. Blige, Clarkson, Jewel and Erasure. But before we get to those, we're going to have a bit of a Take That Off. Ooh, Mrs.
Take that off.
Indeed.
No.
Between Gary Barlow and Robbie Williams. So we have Gary Barlow's fourth solo album, Since I Saw You Last. And I'm not sure which number it is for Robbie, but it must be 10 or something, maybe?
It's up there.
Swings Both Ways. So we start off with... Hello, my name's Gary Barlow.
Does he really sound like that?
I don't know.
I don't watch the X Factor, so I wouldn't.
Yeah. So should we start off with Sir Gary of Barlow?
Yes, let's start with our national treasure.
Indeed.
You're looking at me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you know, I hate to start on a bum note. To be honest with you, apologies, listeners. My entire podcast, this is going to sound like a bum note if you listen to my voice. But I hate to start on a bum note, but there's going to be a lot of disappointed people come Christmas Day listening to this album, aren't there?
Yeah. Particularly when they discover it goes on for an hour.
Including members of my family. I didn't like this record at all. And we've had such a good run this year. And I hate to be the downer on the Christmas podcast, of all the podcasts. But no, this was just bland and long.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of it's a kind of pastiche-a-thon, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and by which I mean when I say there's going to be a lot of disappointed people on Christmas Day, because obviously your Gary Barlow album's out, everyone knows it's out. All your Take That fans from 20 through to 40 will be buying it, I'm sure. But it just lacks that zap that even the most recent Take That albums have.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the interesting thing about his solo work compared to his Take That work. For somebody that has written many a fine tune for Take That,
absolutely,
it's bizarre how any time he gets to go due to the solo thing, when he tries to kind of broaden his horizons, as it were, how he seems to kind of miss the mark. I mean, I'm talking. I said pastiche-a-thon. I mean, obviously on this album, you've got him trying to be Paul McCartney. Yes. In the Beatles with Requiem, yes. The album, which bizarrely is actually one of the better songs on the album, co-written by Robbie Williams. It seems. Yeah. And that actually does work surprisingly well. It's a pretty decent tune and certainly better than many of Oasis's Beatles attempts. Yeah. But then again, he also decides he wants to be Elton John. Although to be fair, at least he gets Elton John in to do that song with him face to face.
George Harrison, I heard.
Yeah, a bit of Billy Joel, Sixth Avenue's very Billy Joel-y. Yeah. You've got a couple of Mumford and Son type songs with Let Me Go and Small Town Girls.
Yeah. Fleetwood Mac's in there.
Yeah, I mean, Let Me Go is, and you say middle of the road. I mean, that's, that song was almost created for the phrase middle of the road. It's so middle of the road that it's roadkill.
Yeah. Oh, he's been working on that all week.
Yeah. And it is quite sad in some ways because you are thinking this is a guy that has written some great songs. And like I said, Requiem I think's all right. The title track is like a Take That song. So Since I Saw It Last, it's kind of effortless tune that he writes to Take That. It's quite good. Yeah. Catchy, gets under the skin, I think. And the only other thing I would say that is worth checking out is actually Dying Inside.
Sorry.
Which seems to be a bit written about when he did the whole kind of Olympic closing ceremony after his daughter had been stillborn.
I mean, that was the thing when he does write a good song. I mean, that was a very moving moment when he came out and sang that particular Take That song.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember what it is. But I mean, to have come on stage and sung that particular song at that particular moment, it was a very moving moment.
Yeah, and I think the honesty of his feeling and stuff comes through in the lyrics of the song "Dying Inside" in this album as well. And I would have preferred more of that and less of the rest of it, which just
Yeah.
seemed more like a kind of marketing exercise.
Yes, very much so. It's a grand tick-boxing box ticking exercise, and I mean, it'll sound great as you're tucking into your Christmas pud, quietly playing in the background, but it's not going to shake the world.
Very quietly playing in the background.
Very quietly, if playing at all in my house, but no, very quietly playing in the background. But as I say, it lacks, apart from some of those lyrical moments that you have picked out, it lacks that just pizzazz that a Take That album still has.
Yes.
You know.
So
We pause.
yeah. Sorry, Gary.
Radio death. Sorry, Gary.
Can Robbie fare any better? Is the question. So we move on to his second swing album. Which is Swing Both Ways. Ha 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 ha.
Yes, we get it.
And Robbie knows that the key to being a swinger is having other people to do it with, so we get Ollie Murs, Kelly Clarkson, Lee Allen, Ruth Swainwright and the Blige all joining in at various different parts of the album.
Yep.
And more importantly, we get Guy Chambers back producing and co-writing.
Yep.
And we've discussed at length and ad nauseum over the years how much Robbie Williams' quality suffered once he had the splits with
There's been a Guy
Chambers.
Chambers-shaped hole in his career from that point onwards.
Yeah, which was about 2002, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So this is actually quite an interesting album in some ways, because half the album is original material and half the album is, kind of covers that have been jazzed up. And I think some of the original stuff is actually quite good. The current single, I think it's on the current single, Go Gently, I think is a really great song. Works great with the kind of big band kind of fit feel. Even better is the reworking of Supreme from his Sing When You're Winning album, done as Swing Supreme on this, which is just really, really like that.
Yeah, I really like that.
I also quite like the classic stuff. The version of Putting on the Ritz, I think, works. If I Only Had a Brain works. Little Green Apples with Kelly Clarkson, I think, works.
Yeah, that works.
Less keen on Minnie the Moocher. I Want to Be Like You with Ollie Murs.
Yeah.
No, it's with me.
With that particular song, it really is the obvious joke.
Yes.
And it's a little bit like that with Swings Both Ways as well.
Yeah, which is also not very good.
It's not very good, and dare I say it, a little bit crass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Soda Pop with Bublé is not much better either.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea.
I know you love the Bublé.
I like the idea, but the song itself is bad. Yeah. And the end is kind of pastiche of the show tune, kind of Gilbert Sullivan style show tune on No One Likes a Fat Pop Star. Also, Sly Diggett himself as well. I also quite like. I think it's quite fun.
There was something, and I know they're friends. There was something of the Neil Tennant about that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing I can imagine him sort of quietly co-writing. That was sort of the arch humour.
Indeed. So, I mean, I thought that, there's enough of this album that's enjoyable to make it bearable.
It's damn sight more enjoyable than going on. So all those people that got either both or one or the other on Christmas Day open this one, be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I would.
But I wouldn't have it on too loud near Grandma.
No, I would certainly say if the choice is take this or take that. Then,
oh God.
Sorry. Then got to be Robbie.
I would agree.
So now we've got rid of that.
So I've rattled those off. Great.
Yeah, and also say obviously one of the main reasons he did this album obviously is because the first one remains his biggest selling album globally. The Swing When You're Winning album.
In most retail stores, if they still exist, I have actually seen the original Swing When You're Winning retailing alongside this one, which makes sense.
Indeed. So let's get Christmassy. Let's step up to the plate with Mary J. Blige and Merry Christmas, her 11th album. Kelly Clarkson, Wrapped in Red, her 6th, unbelievably.
Yes.
Jewel, Let It Snow, a holiday collection, her 12th album, astonishingly. And Erasure, surprisingly, Snow Globe, which is their 15th studio album. I think rather than kind of picking on all these individually, we should probably just save ourselves. We should probably just deal with them as a whole and discuss what was good and what wasn't good about the collective foursome.
Well,
how would you like to start, Peter?
How do we approach this? Because I know I'm always conscious with the Christmas podcast, and we do this every year. or we've done this is what you know. I think we peaked with Buble a couple of years ago.
Yeah, quite possibly.
You know
it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, we peaked with Buble, people. It's funny because that album is still floating around out there. Various Christmas parties and so on that I've been fortunate enough to go to. It's always there in the background, and so obviously that has resonated as a modern classic. That particular album, I can't quite recall what our opinion was a couple of years ago.
I think we were. I think we
didn't
were.
mind it, did we?
No, I think we were reasonably
It was
okay with it.
I seem to recall, but anyway. So I think we peaked there, and unfortunately, it's been a bit downhill ever since. And I hate to be negative when we come to the Christmas podcast, because the Christmas podcast should all be about the festive and the market. But we've had such a good year. Yeah, he's got my thing now.
I had it last week.
You had it
Still
last
got
week.
it.
So last week. It's been such a good year for music. It's a shame to end
It's
on a
shame that it's
downer.
been let down by these Christmas albums.
Because I'll be honest with you, I'm scratching around for positive things to say. All right, let's focus on what's. Actually, how do you want to do this? Should we focus on what's bad first? We can end on a bit more of a tinsely note.
Well, let's maybe say the fact that obviously, as you'd expect, these albums are a mixture of of classic tunes and.
Absolutely.
In most cases, there's some new stuff on as well. So, for example, Mary J. Blige, Kelly Clarkson and Jewel all do Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Yes.
Erasure, Mary J. Blige and Jewel do the Christmas song. Erasure, Kelly and Jewel do White Christmas.
Yes.
Erasure, Kelly do Silent Night.
Yeah.
You know, etc., etc. But there are... I mean, I'll start by saying that I'll try and be positive because it is.
I was going to go in and be negative and then be positive, but go on.
Because it is hard. Because, as I say, I wouldn't wish particularly any of these four albums on anybody at Christmas. I know it's so positive.
Is that your positive comment? How does this rank compared to the Gary Barlow opening? Oh, I've got the Gary Barlow album. Which shall I put on first?
It's.
Yeah.
I think between these four albums,
Yeah.
I think you could cull together a half decent kind of 10-track, 12-track collection. But actually, I'll go. I'll start.
Yeah.
I'll start off with trying. That's it. Positive. Kelly Clarkson album. I think where that actually works quite well is actually there are some actually quite nice original tunes on it.
Yes. Agree.
You know, so you've got Wrapped in Red, which is
Absolutely.
the type of thing, which is
good.
which also features a co-writing credit for Shane McAnally, who co-wrote and produced the Casey Musgraves album, and also co-wrote the Randy Clark record.
There was a touch of the country.
Yeah.
At times that album, which did appeal.
So Wrapped in Red is quite nice. Underneath the Tree, which whilst it sounds like several other things, is still quite fun. And even 4 Carats, which is cheesy as hell, with co-written by Kathy Dennis, is also quite fun. So, you know, they're all kind of tap along and sing along, and I could actually envisage at least one of those being covered by somebody else in the future. And I also really like her version of Imogen Heap's Just For Now, which is really good.
Yes.
Rest of it's a bit kind of, you know, the covers of the classics, it's a bit, you know, you're thinking, are you really adding anything to any of these things? I mean, perhaps maybe a version of My Favourite Things, which you've got the big band turned up to 11 in a kind of Robbie Eat Your Heart Out kind of thing. That's all right.
My daughter liked that as well.
Yeah. A discerning listener. So that was all right. I think Jewel deserves some credit for at least trying to deliver some interesting arrangements of the stuff she's done.
Yes.
So it's kind of you have again we're back to kind of country, I suppose, back to kind of country and western take on Let It Snow, for example.
Yeah.
And for including the old hymn Panis Angelicus, which shows off her voice quite well, because on first listen you kind of think, her voice is a bit kind of inferior, less kind of big than Kelly's and Mary J. Blige's, but she's got that kind of soprano thing coming through.
Absolutely.
So I think that was all right. Erasure made a surprisingly pleasing version of Gaudete.
Gaudete was,
Dare I
awesome.
say, which was quite a shock.
Yeah.
And again, on the original front, I'd even go as far as to say that the opener, Bells of Love, is actually quite pleasant, as is Make It Wonderful. And you know, I'd quite happily take those 3 tracks and then ditch the rest of the album on that one. The biggest disappointment is the Blige album. I mean, there's no doubting her vocal talent. You know, I mean, the woman can sing. However, the woman can sing At the end of every line, it's a bright. Oh, give it a rest. Give it a rest. My Christmas album's coming next year, people.
I was going to do a little ditty at the end of this, but
well, you can.
You beat me to it. Okay, I really didn't want to like the Erasure album because obviously we have this whole Pet Shop Boys thing going on.
Yeah.
with me and the website, but actually,
I know the other three albums made it quite easy to like the Erasure album, didn't it?
Yeah. I actually really like. I liked as you say. I like most of the Erasure album, the original material plus Gaudete. Even Silent Night was it was all right for a moment. You know, so yeah, there's some good stuff on there, and musically, obviously Vince Clarke has been spending some time with Martin L. Gore. Because there was the little tweaks from the VCMG project that were almost a bit Depeche Mode in places, and that's not a really obvious thing to say, but it is true. So some of the electronic, and of course, because they are very much a synth pop electronic band, their album, of course, was very different to all the other albums that we were listening to. With Kelly Clarkson, I completely agree with all your comments that she'd probably come in next. I don't see why we have to have another cover version of Baby It's Cold Outside. You know, Keris and Tom obviously did the definitive. We had to listen to
Bieber again was Olivia and
John last year. And actually I would say that they did it better. Not than Tom, not compared to Tom and Keris,
yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I'm
Yeah. It was certainly more entertaining.
Yes, it was more entertaining. I think with some of these songs you really have to sort of entertain, and I think that's the problem with the Mary J. Blige album. I know she's got a great soulful voice, but it just sucked the soul out of every song.
Yeah.
It was like there is no fun in this album at all.
No, it is quite dreary.
It is very dreary.
And it has to be said, when we were test running these albums at an event just a couple of weeks ago, it did get a big thumbs down from all the people in the room, didn't it?
Like, get this off. I mean, it was just... it was like toothache. You know, it wasn't like Christmas at all. It was like toothache. You know, so, Jewel... completely agree. Jewel was actually quite interesting.
Yes,
to me.
exactly. It's an interesting record.
Jewel and Erasure, obviously up until the 23rd or the 24th, by which time my head will explode with Christmas. God knows I'm fed up with it already. Those are albums I would return to.
Yeah. Actually, there's a very good guitar solo actually on the version of White Christmas by Jewel by Vince Gill, which is actually really nice.
Yes, there is.
And that is kind of country type version of it, which is
so I will conclude by saying there are so many versions of the Christmas song that Scott and Pete can listen to. Tiny spots of rage in my ears. Merry Christmas to you.
Bravo.
Thank you very much.
That will be on the CTTB Christmas album next year. We should do that. That'd be great. Yeah. The gift that everyone would want next Christmas.
That just keeps giving.
Yeah. So I guess our advice is, if you want to have yourself a Merry Christmas, is to pretty much avoid buying any of these records, really, isn't it?
Yes, that would be my advice. Wait till New Year, get down the sales, and pick all the best of 2013 albums. Yeah. It's been awesome.
And if you're going to get Gary or Barlow.
Mm. Yeah.
Gary or Robbie, then you want Robbie.
You want Robbie.
I'm sure there are 7 women out there probably agreeing. But
probably nodding furiously as we speak.
So that's it then, really. A short podcast, and you know, we could have prattled on about all 4 of those Christmas albums individually for a long time, but it was painful enough for us. We didn't feel that you deserved to share in that.
Yes.
So, from all of us, all 2 of us,
Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll be back shortly.
Indeed. You've been listening to the CTTV Music Podcast.